The following program is made possible by the friends and partners of GodQuest Ministries.
Did dinosaurs live with mankind? That's what we're talking about today on the Creation Today show, where we believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate from the very beginning. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Hovind.
And I'm Paul Taylor. And this is the fifth of our special programs taken from Eric's Beginnings series. We're actually looking at some part of the fourth excerpt, the fourth session in the Beginnings series, and we're going to be talking about dinosaurs living with people. I can't wait to talk about this exciting subject. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the Creation Today show with me, Paul Taylor, and with Eric Hovind. And we love to answer your questions, and we've been saying this in many of these special episodes. We love to answer your questions. Please don't think we've forgotten to answer your questions, but we're doing some special programs where we're taking excerpts from Eric's Excellent Beginnings series, just to give you a taster so that you know where to get it from, you know what to expect when you get the package of materials.
I love this series. It really is foundational to understanding the whole creation versus evolution argument. It really gives you a great bottom line foundation.
It is, and you know, I can say this probably even more than you, and you need this. Your church needs this definitely to get the program going, to make sure that your church has the right foundations on which to build their teaching. So we're looking at dinosaurs today. This is the fifth of our 7 episodes. There are 6 parts to the beginning series, so we're actually looking at an excerpt from part 4. That's dinosaurs with people. Hold on a minute, dinosaurs died out millions of years before people, didn't they? Well,
that's what you learn from a very, very young age. You can get books that they read to 2- and 3-year-olds on dinosaurs. Open it up. The first sentence in the book says, millions of years ago. As we know, modern science teaches dinosaurs died off about 65 to 70 million years ago. So what's the truth? Is it possible that dinosaurs have ever lived with mankind? In this session, we're going to be looking at some of the pieces of evidence that show dinosaurs and man didn't live millions of years apart. If dinosaurs were here 65 million years ago and man just, according to the evolution worldview, evolved 3 million years ago, we got about a 60-some-odd million year gap. But we see evidence of them coexisting.
Right.
This causes a huge problem.
But will you be using the Bible in this particular excerpt?
Of course.
Well, the thing is, of course, the word dinosaur doesn't appear in the Bible.
That is exactly right. And many people say, well, hang on, are dinosaurs in the Bible? The word dinosaur is not, because in the English language, it's a pretty new word. It was just invented in 1841 by a guy named Sir Richard Owen.
Yes.
He was the curator at the British Natural History Museum.
That's correct, yes.
And he coined the term dinosaur. Before they were called dinosaurs, these creatures were referred to as dragons.
Right, now.
And that's what we see in the Bible.
Most of our English translations still look back to the King James Version, originally translated in 1611.
1611, yep.
So that's 200, my maths suggests that's 230 years later that the word dinosaur would have been invented. Could there have been? I mean, though, if they had the word dinosaur in 1611, is there anything that they could have translated as dinosaur?
Yes, several times in the scripture uses the word tannin, and a lot of the King James translates that dragon. Of the 35 times the word dragon is mentioned in the Bible, at least 23 of those, you can go and look up the reference, it's talking about a real animal, some type of dinosaur.
Yes. There you have it. I mean, it's so important. It's going to be very interesting to watch this excerpt. Remember that this excerpt is taken from the Beginning series. You're not seeing the whole of episode 4 of the Beginning series. To see the rest, you need to get hold of the entire package, which you can do from creationstore.org. But in this session, you're going to be watching Eric talking about the reason why we believe that dinosaurs were living with people, all the evidence for that. So you need to stay tuned. You need to get your pen and paper out and make a note of the important things that you're going to find out in this episode coming up.
I think the dinosaurs faced a very hostile environment after the flood, okay? The world was totally different after the flood than it was before the flood came. We see before the flood, man was living to be over 900 years old. Check out what happened right after the flood. Lifespans dropped off down to 400, then down to 200, and then down to 100. And today, if you make it to 100, I got some news for you. You old. That's exactly right. You are definitely old, okay? So there was something different after the flood. We see what happened to lifespans of people. Dinosaurs faced this hostile environment. I think they kind of died off for a couple of reasons. Number one, the climate was very different after the flood than it was before the flood. Number two, people used to hunt them. Now, they didn't used to hunt dinosaurs because they didn't call them dinosaurs. The word dinosaur is a brand new word just made up in 1841 by a guy named Sir Richard Owen. Before they ever called them dinosaurs, they used to call them what? Dragons, exactly right. They used to be called dragons. Interesting. You know, in 1891, the dictionary didn't even have the word dinosaur in it. Hadn't even made it in the dictionary by 1891. Check out this, though. 1946 dictionary, and it has the word dragon in it. But look at the definition it says. Dragon, it says, now rare. Excuse me?
You're watching an excerpt from Beginnings with Eric Hovind. We'll be right back. Dragons, are they merely mythical or do they have a basis in reality? The answer, based on evidence documented from around the world, will astonish you. Dire Dragons provides revolutionary and profound evidence from ancient artwork that there is a real, powerful, documentable, and defensible connection between the dragons of ancient times and the dinosaurs we know so well from fossils. To order this beautiful hardcover book, go to creationstore.org. You're watching an excerpt from Beginnings with Eric Hovind on Creation Today. And now, back to the show.
Man, now rare. Yeah, right. Oh, that was just a typo. We meant to put there, died 70 million years ago. Because let's face it, when you hear about dinosaurs, the first thing that you hear after you hear about the word dinosaur is what? Millions of years ago. And that's what we're taught when we're taught dinosaurs lived. Millions of years ago is when all this took place. I don't think so. You know, all through history, there are thousands of reports of people killing dragons. There are literally thousands of stories of men killing these serpents or these dragons. I think they were killing the dinosaurs. It's exactly what was going on. I think they killed them for a number of reasons. For meat. Also because they were a menace. I mean, you don't want your little girl playing in the backyard with a T-Rex, okay? Unless you got a lot of little girls. Or you just don't like that one. But, or to be a hero, to prove his superiority, competition of land, or medicinal purposes. You know, there are ancient remedies that call for dragon blood, dragon bones, or dragon saliva. Kind of weird if you ask me, but whatever helps, you know. Oh, Johnny, I see you skin your knee. Can I have some dragon saliva, please? No, thanks, Mom, you know. I'm okay. Bring in the dragon blood. Yeah, no, thank you, okay. There's a story of Gilgamesh who slew the dragon. There's a Chinese legend that tells of a man named Yu. Not you, but, you know, you. Anyway, this guy named Yu, he surveyed the land of China, divided it up into sections, and made channels to drain the water off to the sea to help make the land livable again. It says when he did this, many snakes and dragons were driven from the marshlands. You think he really drove off snakes? Yeah. Dragons? Yeah. I think he really did drive off dragons as well. Dinosaurs. It's interesting. How come the Chinese calendar has 11 real creatures and then one that's supposedly mythical? Maybe they're all 12 real animals that really did live. Did you know the Bible talks about dragons? They are in the Bible. Deuteronomy says their wine is the poison of dragons. The word dragon is actually mentioned 35 times in the scriptures. Of those 35, best I can tell, at least 23 of those are referring to a real animal, a dragon, an animal that lived and breathed, a dragon, a dinosaur, if you will. The Babylonians knew about dragons. King Nebuchadnezzar had on his ring, his signet seal, He had the god Marduk on top of a fire-breathing dragon. You say, Eric, you don't believe in fire-breathing dragons, do you? Yep, I believe in fire-breathing dragons. You're like, okay, welcome to Looneyville, Eric. No, there's several reasons I believe in fire-breathing dragons. Number one, history is filled with stories of fire-breathing dragons. You say, well, they just made those up. Well, then why did they always make it up about a dragon? Why don't we ever hear the legend of the fire-breathing hamster? Ah! Or the fire-breathing butterfly? It's always a dragon. Second, the Bible talks about them. What? Yeah. Isaiah talks about a fiery flying serpent. Whoa. The book of Job talks about Leviathan. It says, out of his mouth go burning lamps and sparks of fire leap out. It says, out of his nostrils goeth smoke as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. Whatever this thing was, it could breathe fire at will. Or at anybody. It didn't have to be will. I mean, he could breathe fire, okay? So the Bible talks about them, and there are animals alive today with those kinds of capabilities. They got a couple chemicals in their body that when they shoot them out and they mix together, it explodes. Amazing. Little bitty beetle called the bombardier beetle. Really cool little beetle that has that potential right now, today. We cover more about that in some of the other videos that we offer. Now, I really do believe dragons have always lived with man. Dinosaurs have lived with man. When they dig down in the sand and found the old walls of Babylon, the old walls of Babylon have carvings of dragons on them. Dragons and lions are on the old walls of Babylon. Interesting. The Ishtar gates over there had carvings of dragons and lions on them. Alexander the Great, when he conquered what is part of now India, he said his men were scared by the dragons that lived there in the caves. Guys, this is just 326 years before Christ. Check this out. A couple hundred years after Christ, here's a Roman mosaic showing two long-necked dinosaurs fighting. Or quite possibly kissing. Actually, that would be necking. Wow, kids, close your eyes, okay? You don't need to see that. Sir George is said to have slain a dragon 275 years after Christ. Beowulf killed Grendel the dragon. How many of you in school read the story of... Oh, let me take that back. How many of you in school were supposed to read the story Beowulf? Yeah, I know how that goes. I was supposed to as well. I had to read it later on. I figured out I should have just done it back in school. But anyway, Beowulf tells the story about how he killed Grendel the dragon by pulling off one of his small front arms, and the creature bled to death. Interestingly enough, they found a Babylonian cylinder seal with a man dancing with, or fighting, a dragon. Looks like he's trying to pull off his front arm. Very interesting. In 900 AD, an Irish writer told about an animal with iron nails on its tail. Could he have been talking about the Stegosaurus with iron spikes on its tail? Siegfried is said to have slain Fafnir the dragon. Marco Polo, when he visited China, he said the Chinese emperor was actually raising dragons to pull his chariots in parades. Why would he say that? Probably because the Chinese emperor was raising dragons to pull his chariots in parades. I mean, that's the best guess I got. In 1611, 400 years ago, guys, the Chinese emperor appointed the post of royal dragon feeder. I don't know if you had to reappoint one of those every time you fed the dragon, or if it was just like a one-time thing, but anyway, a royal dragon feeder to feed the royal dragons. The city of Nerluc, France was renamed in honor of a dragon that was killed there, said to have 3 long, sharp-pointed horns on its head. The Grand Canyon here in North America has carvings of dinosaurs on its walls. The Indians here in North America knew about dinosaurs. Very interesting. In Australia, there are Aboriginal cave paintings showing people with dinosaurs. They lived at the same time. So this guy in National Geographic says, no human being has ever seen a live dinosaur. I don't know about that. I think people have seen dinosaurs all through history. There are some stones that have been found in the driest desert in the world over in Peru called the Ica Stones. These stones depict all kinds of things. One of the things they depict is dinosaurs. They got all kinds of dinosaurs carved on these stones. Now, there's quite a debate over, are these stones legitimate, okay? So I'll admit there is a debate out there on this idea, but more and more creation scientists are coming to find out, wow, these stones are the real deal. These stones are from about the time of Jesus Christ. They're very, very old, very well preserved over there in that dry desert. And these stones have carvings of dinosaurs and people on them. You got Triceratops carved in it, Stegosauruses carved in it. This one looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a guy that's, well, not having a very good day, if you ask me. Another one showing a long-necked dinosaur that apparently ate somebody, so somebody came along and killed it. Wow. These stones are just amazing. They depict dinosaurs on them with man. Dr. Dennis Swift is a friend of mine. He lives in Portland, Oregon. He's a pastor out there. He's an expert on these Ica Stones and the pre-Incan artifacts and things like that. Absolutely amazing, some of the stuff that he's discovered. Absolutely phenomenal. He wrote a book on it that we carry, great book on the subject of dinosaurs and man and the Ica Stones and the Nazca lines and what all that means. Secrets of the Ica Stones and Nazca lines. Excellent, excellent resource if you want to get more information on that. He went over to Cambodia and found a temple over there. The temple had a carving of a Stegosaurus in the side of the temple, right along with all kinds of other animals. A Stegosaurus, a dinosaur mixed right in with it. 500 years ago, an Italian peasant killed a dinosaur. They stuffed it and put it in a museum. You know, 500 years ago, you could go to a museum and see a real live, a real dead dinosaur. Skin and everything, not just the bones like we see today. You say, okay, Eric, are dinosaurs in the Bible? Well, like I said, dinosaur wasn't even invented. Dragons are definitely mentioned in the Bible, okay? Another place they're mentioned in the Bible is the book of Job. Job talks about an animal named Behemoth. Now, what in the world's a behemoth? Some Bibles say, oh, I know what that is. That's either an elephant or a hippopotamus. But no, it couldn't be one of those, okay? I think Behemoth is one of the long-necked dinosaurs. This is a very rare photo with a bunch of those dinosaurs herded together, okay? Including the very rare Blondosaur. Yes. Oh, those are very rare. Talk to them very slowly when you meet them, okay? But, yeah, dinosaurs are mentioned in the Bible, and in Job chapter 40, this Behemoth is obviously referring to a dinosaur. Read the description and see for yourself. It says, "Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. He eateth grass as an ox." People say, hey, Eric, elephants eat grass. True. Hey, hippos eat grass. True. Brachiosaurus also ate grass. So it could be any one of them. Then it says, next verse it says, "Lo now his strength is in his loins, and the force is in the navel of his belly." The biggest, strongest part on him is his belly, his midsection. People say, hey, Eric, elephants have a big belly. That's true. Hippopotamus has a big belly. That's true. Brachiosaurus also had a big belly. Matter of fact, if big belly's all we're going on, he has a big belly. So does he. That is just gross, if you ask me, okay? Then it says, "He moveth his tail like a cedar tree." Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Have you ever seen an elephant's tail? Would that remind you of a cedar? What about a hippopotamus tail? What about the Brachiosaurus tail? Would that one remind you of a cedar tree? Yeah, the other two are cedar twigs. Brachiosaurus had the cedar tree, no doubt about it. Then it says, "His bones are as strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron." This is a Brachiosaurus toe bone, one of the bones out of his toe. I have discovered in my research that the reason he had those big toe bones was because he had a big toe. And the reason he had that big toe is because he had a big foot. Here's a little boy taking a bath in a dinosaur footprint. It's huge. The reason he had that big old foot is because he had one giant leg. Just his front leg, 24 feet tall. Amazing. He had that big old leg because he had a big body. They say full grown, these things weigh up to 100 tons. That's the equivalent of 14 school buses stacked on top of each other. Which means, if he were to come by and step on you, you would be deeply impressed by him. Deeply impressed, I can assure you. Then the Bible says, this behemoth, he's the chief of the ways of God. This is the biggest, strongest animal that God made. Wow. Is it any wonder that Satan would want to take the glory of God's animal kingdom, the chief of the ways of God, and pervert him and steal the glory away from God and use it for himself? So that now when kids learn about the Brachiosaurus, now the very next thing they learn about the Brachiosaurus, the very first thing they learn after its name, boys and girls, this is the Brachiosaurus. He lived, and that's the first thing they're learning now. Satan has twisted and perverted God's wonderful creation to glorify himself rather than to give glory to God. Wow. See, Satan couldn't seize this opportunity back in the Garden of Eden. I mean, if he went to Adam and Eve and said, hey, dinosaurs lived millions of years ago, they'd be like, you mean that one? Oh, never mind. He couldn't do it to Noah. Hey, Noah, dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. You mean the one that I'm feeding right now? Oh, yeah, never mind. Then over the next few thousand years, though, dinosaurs became pretty rare. And then a couple hundred years ago, they dug up the bones to one. And Satan seized that opportunity. He said, hey, I'm going to tell people dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. It's just not true. See, Christians have no problem with dinosaurs. They actually fit very well with God's word. They fit with exactly what God said. The problem we have is with the millions of years. Hey, if dinosaurs didn't live millions of years ago, if they have always lived with man, and if the earth is only a few thousand years old, not millions of years old, well, then that would bring with it some other implications, wouldn't it? That would mean that evolution isn't true. And if evolution's not true, you only got one other choice: creation. And if creation's true, that means that there is a... Yeah. What are the implications of there actually being a creator that created this world? Those are far-reaching. So, what did the evolutionists use as evidence for evolution? What is it that you guys are being taught in school? What is it that they're teaching in the textbooks to try to show, hey, evolution really did happen and here's our proof? What exactly are they presenting as proof if evolution didn't really take place? What are they presenting as their evidence? We're going to talk about that in the next session. And we're going to find that many times evolutionists are deceiving people about the evidence they have to support their theory.
Wow, we've just seen so much information on the subject of dinosaurs. You're still watching the Creation Today show with Paul Taylor and with Eric Hovind. Eric, how long ago is it that you made the Beginnings series?
It was about a year and a half ago, actually almost 2 years ago now, and we could have an entire series devoted to nothing but dinosaurs. There is so much about them to talk about.
And also you gave us so many interesting references in your talk, examples of how dinosaurs had lived with people. But in fact, in that year and a half or so at the time of recording this show that's passed by since the Beginning series was done, there's a lot more. There's even more books available than things that you didn't have available at the time of the Beginning series.
You know, something that's happened recently that I haven't really had a chance to talk about, we got the books that have come out. Animal Planet has done a documentary on dragons. And here's what's interesting. I don't know if they've taken it off their website yet, and I'm sure they would have gotten a lot of flack. But I grabbed it from their website. They said in this little clip advertising this documentary on dragons, they said, after studying legends and dragons, the Animal Planet team is not convinced that the idea of dragons is just a myth.
Right.
And they show dragons with dinosaurs. And we have thousands of legends of dragons with people, bringing all of it right together.
Lots and lots of legends of dragons with people. What's your favorite one?
Oh man, let's see here. I love Gilgamesh slaying the dragon. The idea that Marco Polo visited China and and saw the emperor and reported that he was raising dragons. The idea of the emperor in 1611 appointing the post of a royal dragon feeder. I don't know if that was just a one-time post, thing, or if you had to appoint a new person every time it was time to
it
feed
depends
the dragon.
what exactly the dragon ate.
That's true.
If he ate the dragon
exactly
feeder,
right. Then he had to get a new one every time.
But of course, if dragons were dinosaurs, then some of them would have been plant-eating anyway. Some of them would have been meat-eating. Some of them would have been plant-eating. And of course, you mentioned in the excerpt that we watched one of my favourite ones, which is in the account of Beowulf.
Beowulf, yes. Of course, in high school, you're supposed to read the story of Beowulf. I was supposed to read the story of Beowulf. It would have been good if I read that. But hence, I have had to read that. And it is a cool story about how Beowulf kills Grendel, right? Grendel the dragon.
Yes.
By pulling off one of his small front arms.
Yes.
Incredible. Here he is fighting a dragon, fighting a dinosaur.
In secular high schools in England, of course, Grendel is described as a troll and given human-like features, and that was, of course, in the animated film. But he's described, isn't he, as something with very, very small arms, and Beowulf was able to get close and pull his arm out of his socket.
So which dinosaur was that? I kind of think it could have been the T-Rex because he had those little bitty arms.
Right. So. Sounds like it to me. So there's a huge amount of information that we've got there. We could go on talking for hours, but we don't have hours to talk about this. You've been watching a production of God Quest Ministries. Remember, if you want to ask questions for future programs, do so at questions@creationtoday.org. Thank you so much for listening to us. Join us again.
This program is available on DVD by visiting creationstore.org or by calling 877-479-3466. To order this episode, use the item number displayed on your screen.